right, so once the musicals come in March, the musicals come in February, and I guess there's a turnout for the fair. So it did, the weather cleared, and they were able to have the fair, but it doesn't look like there's any parking in the front part. $17 for parking. All right, next delivery, 6:27 p.m. on arrival, 3 minutes, 0.9 miles. So I put on New Order Substance and put on the song Ceremony. That goes, I believe, take a stab at it, I don't know, 87 maybe? But anyway, that version, whatever it is I'm listening to, and I'll get back to the correct information, it's very good. You can kind of match the two right here. It's probably not that one, but most likely the next. Which actually, it is that one. All right, next delivery is at 6:42 p.m. arrival, 6 minutes, 2.1 mile. All right, so for tonight, we're gonna add we're adding the bird's eye view shot of Mark the Uber driver with Gerald Ullman III and John Blacksmith in the back seat. And it'll be, I don't know, a segment that we'll have to kind of gauge it when we do it and see how much of the New Order song we can get. But I like the beginning part. If we can get it all the way to the point of the vocals, that's fine. If we can go forward with the vocals, that's fine too. Although it's originally written by Ian Curtis, so it was originally a Joy Division song. That's an important aspect too. And it's tied to probably the Minister, which is Gerald Ullman III, and the United Kingdom. And possibly we may have it as diegetic music from Mark the Uber driver's vehicle, because he could be listening to New Order. And we can talk about going non-diegetic when it's bird's eye view. So I think that might be okay and still work. So I mean, we could hear it on his, so we'll start with him turning it on, the vehicle, like pushing a button where it says New Order Substance Ceremony, or just New Order Ceremony. And then it'll shoot to the bird's eye view, and we hear the beginning part of it from the radio. And then it cuts and it's bird's eye view and it's non-diegetic. I want to be very careful with the non-diegetic. I want to be very careful with the non-diegetic music. That's about perfect. Just about like. All right, remember guys, Velvet Taco opened really late, right off Carroll and West 7th. Pretty cool. They got Marie Antoinette in there eating cake. It looks like velvet cake. I got a photo of it in the outro. All right, next delivery, 7:15, 7 minutes, 2.6 miles. All right, there's the beautiful lights of the Modern Art Museum, created by Tadao Ando from Japan. He received the 1995 Pritzker Prize for Best Architect. Many of the architects that deal with those three museums, or all three of them, Louis Kahn being the Kimball Art Museum, And also over this way is the Piano Pavilion. They all three have the Pritzker Prize. And the fair is officially open. I went through Apple Music, which is known as iTunes, and I don't know if they offer the single purchase of Ceremony by New Order. I think it has to be purchased in either you have to buy the membership or you have to buy the album, which would be Substance. It's a 1987 album. I'll have to look at it a little bit later because I just kind of perused through it and looked at Bizarre Love Triangle and Blue Monday and songs like that were, they were all available to purchase for just a single song, which is how I purchase stuff on iTunes usually. Now I have bought an album off of iTunes. I bought A Basement on a Hill, which was Elliott Smith. I bought that album a while back, and I usually buy singles. Like if I do a Peter Gabriel, it's usually just a single. I'm gonna have to, since I want to add Ceremony by New Order, the 1987 album Substance, I just want to add the single song on Grace, aka Where Vlog Screenplay. I have to kind of read the lyrics a little bit because it's hard to understand exactly what he's saying, because it was very difficult to understand Ian Curtis' version, because the only version I've heard is either it was either a rehearsal version or it was a version that was live. So you can barely, the vocals are really weird. So in the remake, it's still a little bit like that, but the vocals are way better when Bernard Sumner recorded it. And of course the band, everybody else in New Order. So it's, I'm gonna have to look at it, but I really think I really like it. It has an uplifting feel. We're gonna look at the Jumbotron. And this pizza will be going to Cook's Children's Medical. Medical centers are a little different from a lot of other places. But we'll just check in with the front desk. Now, if we really get funding and this thing soars off with Grace, aka Where Vlog Screenplay, and the movie, let's say if it lifts off, we could go with non-diegetic only, okay? Not for the whole film. It's not going to be all non-diegetic. I don't really like that in movies, but I do like it to happen sometimes in the movie, unless it's like Pink Floyd The Wall or something like that, But if it's a movie, I think the music is sparingly, and I think we can have different songs diegetically. So like from the radio or from a Bluetooth speaker, things like that, where the camera can get close. A camera can get close to a phone. Someone's phone has music on it, things like that. That I like. But non-diegetic is what's known as theme music. And that's music that comes up that is speaking from the author's point of view or from the outside source. It's a possibility, if we get approval, we could use the album Substance in it, which is a New Order album, 1987. Now, not every song, of course, but that I kind of like in movies a little bit. Now, who did that? Well, Hal Ashby did it. He did it with a movie called Harold and Maude, and he used Cat Stevens' record, Tea for the Tillerman, I believe, or something of that nature. He used Cat Stevens, let's just put it that way, for the non-diegetic music within the film, okay, which rises above. It's a possibility we could, because of the connection of Gerald Ullman III being from the UK. And it could be talking about the United Kingdom and America. It's talking about a lot of things, but not just that. It also talks about vlogging. So, I don't know, you know, I think maybe it might be speaking something about at least my generation or when I grew up. And it's like also coming from the filmmaker's point of view, you know, like the writers talking through the music, you know. That happens in all movies, you know, where you use a rock song or a classical song or whatever it may be. It's speaking on behalf of the writer or the director, you could say, maybe. The storyteller is speaking through that music because it brings about emotion at that moment, because that's what a song does. So Substance is a very good choice. Next delivery, 7:55, 5 minutes, 2.3 miles. So I've been analyzing the script from afar, and that's what we want to do when we're laying down music for non-diegetic, or what we call theme music. I think when they go to Lowe's to chase after Grace Lepone, because they're kind of spying on him, and they realize that he is the werewolf, which really he's not, but they see him get in kind of an argument with a Lowe's worker because there's packing tape on this wheel of this cart. We're going to have a look at Fort Worth real quick. That's a skyline of Fort Worth right there. So, yeah, he gets, you know, upset with this, you know, Lowe's worker, Grace Lepone. And plus, you know, he's been in the, you know, he's been a type that he's worked out a lot of his life and been in gyms, and, you know, he was a UFC fighter. And so he kind of gets a little irritated about things. And the Lowe's worker's just, you know, it's just some packing tape, I can help you. But he's upset that he's not giving him a space. And, you know, and they have gone through COVID and all that stuff like everybody else. And so he kind of loses it. And Gerald Ullman III and John Blacksmith are watching, like probably with binoculars or something from the car, from the parking lot, because they can trail him. Because they have, you know, they have the capability of trailing him because they have a device on the vehicle. And they, you know, they can trace him through his phone mostly. So they, you know, they're in the parking lot and they're like, that's, you know, that's the werewolf, you know, he's got to be the werewolf, you know, all this stuff. So he finally makes it back to his car, and then he drives off, and then there's another sequence, which I need to probably lay down, of them just kind of following him. And I think it's a perfect opportunity when they're leaving Lowe's to put on Perfect Kiss by New Order. Not through here, though, but maybe through non-diegetic, and then do another bird's eye view shot. I see those sequences of the trailing and espionage, of the trailing of Grace Lepone by Gerald Ullman, and the Mark the Uber driver, too. Would be from bird's eye view at times. And then you have that dun 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 dun, which that comes from Perfect Kiss. Dun 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 dun. And so minimal movement from everybody, right? So he's leaving Lowe's. Gerald Ullman III is kind of just very minimal movement, you know, almost nonchalant. You know, just staring straight ahead. John Blacksmith is looking on the device to make sure they're trailing, and then of course the Uber driver's driving, and it's showing, you know, maybe all of them at one time, and then it goes back to bird's eye view. You know, that's what I see in it. So, and here, you know, bam, 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 and then you get, you know, like a close up of Mark the Uber driver, a close up of Gerald Ullman III, a close up of John Blacksmith, and then a close-up of Grace Lepone driving. Whether he has the cat in the back at this point, I have to go back and look at the script. He could at least have the cat carrier in the back of the car, you know, and there's a shot of an empty cat carrier, you know, because he's just dropped the cat off at the, you know, the veterinarian clinic. Bam, bam, and you got a bird's eye view of the car, you know, like way up high, you know, from a drone. We could shoot the whole thing on an iPhone too. And we can also connect the iPhone to a drone and fly above. I have no problem with that, because I understand that an iPhone only has a 13 millimeter and I believe a 26 millimeter. Let me look real quick. What does that say? Let me get my glasses. It'll be 24. That could be dangerous. Hang on, give me a second. I'll have to go back and review this footage. Give me 1 second. looks like, yes, 26 millimeter and 13 millimeter on lenses. In Gray's AK Wear vlog, there's twofold. There's one fold of they think he's something that he's not, right? So people think that someone is something and then they're not really that at all. But then there's also the power of belief, which I think could be the theme of the whole entire movie. The simple power of belief. There's power in believing. So that's a definite theme. Because I thought about, is it man versus nature, man versus werewolf? I don't think it's any of them. I think it's the power of belief. Man versus belief, if that can be something. But so they're after this belief, Gerald Ullman III and John Blacksmith. They really believe he's a werewolf. And that's the rub, right? That's the thing that makes it work, is the belief. All right, next delivery is 8:11 arrival, 7 minutes, 3.2. Right, so I can kind of vocally explain things far better, I think, than I can write it. But then again, anyway. So when they leave Lowe's, Grace Lepone drives. Perfect Kiss has already started non-diegetic, so it's also a bird's eye view. Then we get a close-up of Grace Lepone driving, okay, which hopefully is me. Then it switches over to Mark, the Uber driver, and there's a shot of him going like this. Then it switches to Gerald Ullman III, and he's simply deadpan. If Ullman takes it, it'd be great. He's just deadpan, no emotion, just watching. Then it switches to a close-up, and these are all close-ups, of John Blacksmith looking at his device. So he'd be looking at the device. And then it goes back to bird's eye view. And this will be when Perfect Kiss is playing. Dun, 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 dun. Right as the synthesizer kicks in and it's the repeater, dun, 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 that part. You gotta listen to the music. It's a New Order. They're great. They're very cinematic. All right, so I timed it out. And how it works is when New Order Perfect Kiss begins to play, it plays this wonderful kind of music that's, sounds like drummings and stuff. And that part before the bass is going to be the close-ups. Okay? Starting with bird's eye and then going to the first close-up as the song begins. Once we get through Grace Lippon's close-up, then we get through Gerald Ullman III's close-up, and we get through John Blacksmith's close-up. By that time, the bass is about to kick in, going dun 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 dun, and that's bird's eye view. Got it? And we can go on bird's eye view for quite a bit of time, because we'll see their vehicle trailing Grace Lipone's vehicle. So it's very clear that they are following him. And this is to the song Perfect Kiss by New Order in the album Substance. We can, of course, tweak that because the repeater synthesizer comes in a little bit later, and that could be a different angle, possibly. A low angle of the car passing. I don't know. We'd have to experiment with it and get a lot of different shots for that. But definitely there's some stuff going on in that song that works. All right, I think I may be mistaken. Now, Perfect Kiss, we do have the car leaving Lowe's with the music. Now, once the bass music comes in, that's going to be on the close-ups. I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to be. So, the close-up of Grace Lippon driving, you can kind of see them behind. He doesn't really know that he's being followed. And then, boom, it switches to the other vehicle, and we have a close-up of Mark, the Uber driver. We have a close-up of Gerald Ullman III, deadpan, and then we have a close-up of John Blacksmith looking at his tablet or phone, you know, making sure that they're connected GPS with Gray Slip-On on the following. Now, after the bass plays for just a minute, there's a repeater synthesizer sound. That is the bird's eye view, and you can clearly hear it in the song. It's a lift, and boom, it goes right to that. See what I'm saying? All right, so if you listen to the song Perfect Kiss by New Order on Substance, the bird's eye view would be at about 47.5 seconds, going into about 48 seconds, at the 48 second mark. So when the song goes to 48 seconds, right at 49 seconds bird's eye view, or 48 seconds bird's eye view. You have to listen to it. So you have them leaving lows at the beginning, you have the bass kick in, and you have close up, close up, close up, close up, close up, and then at 48 seconds, then it kicks over to bird's eye view and stays there for quite a bit of time. That, I think, is correct. All right, so I think at about 1 minute and 28 seconds or so, I want to say that we can then hear the song play maybe on Mark the Uber driver's, you know, speakers, Bluetooth, whatever. So it's, you know, it started non-diegetic and then it goes into diegetic for a moment. And then maybe Gerald might ask, could you please turn that down for a minute? And he's discussing something with John Blacksmith about them following Gray Slip-On, you know. So we hear it on the radio, so, you know, or we hear it on the device. So that's a possibility. We could explore that. The idea ultimately is we know that Gerald Ullman III and Gerald Ullman III and John Blacksmith are dorks. They're all kind of dorks, but Gray Slip-On is kind of more of the manly kind of, you know, because he's the fighter. You know, I hate to say stock characters, but there's nothing wrong with it. But he's the fighter. John Blacksmith is the kooky blacksmith, if you have such a thing. Gerald Ullman III is the werewolf hunter, and Rainy Love is the ex-rock star, you know. So, you know, they're all something. You know, Bob Billings is the social worker that works with the local Barksville PD, you know, that kind of thing. All right, we're gonna head back. I gotta put in some camera cues tonight, right at the Lowe's sequence, whenever they all go to Lowe's. And this is when Gray Slip-On is buying I think a new tractor, a new lawnmower tractor. And then the sequence we're going to put in tonight is when he's leaving the parking lot, which will be a wide shot. And then it'll go to the close-ups of all of them. And then after that, it'll go to a bird's eye view. And then throughout the wide shot is when I'm going to go ahead and put in non-diegetic cue music of New Order's Ceremony from the album Substance. And, you know, if we can get it, we can get it, you know, so we'll have to see.